Hi everyone, let's talk about the Rise of Queensdale. So this is a legacy game, and I'll say up front, I'm going to try and be as spoiler-free as possible. I may talk vaguely about some things that are in the game because I've got to try and say something about it, haven't I? But I won't be spoiling any specific things or any story-related things at all. If you don't want any spoilers at all, probably don't watch a video about it. But anyway, there was a playthrough as well of the first game that will be linked somewhere. It'll be linked at the end, certainly, and in the description. But yeah, you can see the basic structure of the game from that. So just that basic game itself, the dice placement game, really fun. The upgrading of your dice is really nice, although as with any dice game, it can lead to some frustrating things where one person is rolling the perfect things they need and you just can't roll an action to save your life and have to spend more resources to do it. It's good that you've got all the options there, though, isn't it? You can spend resources to re-roll. You can, if you roll a wood symbol, you can spend another wood on top of it to use it as an action symbol instead. So you've got flexibility on top of that. But yeah, you can't rely on rolling specific things. You're going to have to be a little bit flexible with your plans based on what you roll. But yeah, it's a really tight dice placement board because a lot of stuff is blocked off for two players, and yeah, all of the resources you're racing for those +1 spaces because it's double what you're getting at the start anyway. It's a really important thing that you can see. Okay, I'm first. I've rolled a brick, but so have they. So I need to do that first. But I really wanted to go here to do this action space first that there's only one of, and there's plenty of that on the board as well. That if you don't do this thing right now, you're probably not going to get to do it at all this round. And yeah, if you're the first player, you're probably not going to, if everybody really wants to do that, you might not get to do it again until your first player comes around again. So yeah, the tense atmosphere that's in that dice placement is really nice. The actual legacy part of it, you are building up these kingdoms quite differently to legacy games that we've played. Really, the only other competitive one that we've played is Charterstone. That did it with stickers. You were placing stickers onto the board to represent these locations. Queensdale does it with tiles instead. You have a fantastic component that I showed off in the playthrough. It's a little plunger that you place on the tiles, and you basically suck them up and place new ones in their stead. And I would show it to you right now, but genuinely, we kept it out as a piece that we want to keep as a memento of the game, and our cat Marty has taken it off somewhere. If I ever find it again, then it will be in the background somewhere. But yeah, he's genuinely taken a liking to it. Anyway, I really like that. It is surprising how, it seems silly, but it's surprising how satisfying using that plunger to put new tiles on there is. I think that I do like it even better than stickers. It is precarious. Like, you can't store the game like this. You have to store it flat, or you have to kind of strap all of the boards together with extra punch boards and elastic bands and things, because if they get knocked about a bit and all of that falls out, you're going to have a job trying to figure out where all of it came from. But yeah, I really like that system. It's quite satisfying. I think that's probably spoiler territory, but I think there's more can be done with that system. I think you could put more surprises in that changing tile system that is in the game. So it does, because it's a legacy game, it has to have all of these different surprises in, and the game really does evolve as you are going through it. There are, I can't really talk about specific things that are in it, but from the beginning, there are very intriguing things that you can go down that may or may not pay off in the short term, but kind of contribute to this building story, this the realization that you are going to be playing this campaign for some time, and maybe some of these things are going to come back later on. You do end up building up, as in Charterstone, really, you end up building up your little region with the buildings that you want that work in a certain way that probably give you an advantage in a certain area of the game. You're building your own kind of engine, but because it's a kind of permanent thing, things do change from game to game, and when the epochs change, huge differences can be made in there, and depending on what you've been strong in, some epochs will be better for you than others. But you do end up, because you're building this engine and it's a permanent engine that you're going to have to lose something eventually if you want to keep improving it. That it ends up you having this engine, and I've only played this as 2 players, by the way. This is a campaign that is fixed the number of players you're playing. It's not like Charterstone where it's flexible. You start with 2, you play 2 the whole way through. But it did feel that we kind of had our own paths. We went in different ways in the way that our regions were built. But once we had kind of settled in, after a few epochs, once we had settled in our routines, we kind of went the same way every game after that. We did have to bend a little bit to suit the objective we were going for or the epoch that we were in. But broadly, I was very strong in one area, Rach was very strong in another, and we kept trying to exploit that as best we could to try and just race for those points. And it's a very, very quick game because of that race, because of the escalation in you being more and more powerful at certain things. And you need more points as you go into further epochs, but you also earn more points for different things as you progress through those epochs as well. So it is a very, very short game. It can be about half an hour for 2 players. It's really, really quick. But having said that, there were a lot of games in the campaign as well. So they are short bursts of really tense placement. But the campaign for us, it was about 20 games, a bit more than 20 games, I believe. And it does a bit of a different thing for 2 players in that some of the epochs need to be completed twice. And that is just to kind of prolong the game enough that you will see more of it. And at the beginning, we were kind of thinking that, it's a little bit annoying that we do want to see the stuff, but it's a bit annoying that we have to, just do this thing again. But towards the end of the game, that doesn't happen as much. And we feel like the end of the game kind of, it accelerated, which was nice, but maybe it passed us by too quickly in order to do certain things. We didn't realize that the whole campaign was kind of, there wasn't much of it left. We hadn't, looked ahead at any of it, but yeah, it's kind of caught us by surprise how soon it was coming. That's a bit of a strange thing about the legacy in this, that all of the stuff is on display from the beginning. All of the tiles that you get, they are kind of fake. Some of the buildings and things, they are faked down in an insert at the bottom. But as for all of the stickers that you will go through, they're all just on display, and you will have to dig through sticker sheets. You won't know what a lot of it means, but you will be kind of given, big hints of, oh, there's this thing coming up. Oh, this looks like this. And all of the rule stickers are just, on big sticker sheets that you can see. You could see everything that's coming up. You can accidentally spoil some stuff for you in the way that it's done. It would be nicer, I imagine, that it's a big cost increase, but the way something like Pandemic Legacy does that, or the way Charterstone did it with all of the different cards, but the way Pandemic Legacy does that with the kind of advent calendar windows where you will find new stickers to place in your rulebook, that's much better for keeping things as a bigger surprise, as did Charterstone. Charterstone did a really good job of that as well. Whereas it is a bit strange in this that it's all kind of out in the open. It is, you have to do a lot of looking away. It did help that this is a German copy. I have to give big thanks. I hope I did this in the playthrough as well. Big thanks to Rado, who had an advance English pasted up copy and passed on the English materials to me, so I could grab a German copy and be able to play it. So massive thanks to Rado for helping me out yet again. But it is kind of all on display, which is a little bit weird, isn't it? The game's got a lot of catch-up mechanisms as well. One of the downsides for us in Charterstone was that not very far into the game, I ended up with quite a lead in points. And to be fair, we didn't know what was coming the rest of the campaign. There were surprises and things that would affect the final score of the campaign, but the gap just got wider and wider to the point where, as we were nearing it, there were other things that we had problems with in Charterstone, but the gap had become so wide near the end that, understandably, Rach wasn't bothered about playing anymore. We've seen a lot of it, and it's so obvious that you're going to win. I want to finish it, but it's lost a massive amount of charm knowing just how far behind I am. And this game does a much better job of trying to keep the players together. It's got a lot of catch-up mechanisms. So I mentioned when you achieve the epoch, you are racing to a certain score. When you achieve your epoch, you will, maybe not in a two-player game, but you will often move on to the next epoch, and that doesn't have to be the same for all players. You can be ahead, and it means that you have a higher amount of points to score next game. So it's going to take you a bit longer. You do earn more points for some of your scoring criteria, but that isn't, it's not like you get one more point for everything to make up for that. It's a bit strange how it works, but yeah, it's going to be a bit tougher for you because you need to score more points next game. And there are, I can't spoil too many things, but there are 3 or 4 different things that come out that are trying to give the players that are behind big advantages. And absolutely, when they first came out, I realized that it is a deliberate catch-up thing. But some of the things we thought, wow, that is so powerful. That is such a huge thing. But it is keeping players in the game. It is keeping us together. And for maybe 2/3 of the campaign, we were never more than an epoch ahead of each other. It may be 2 games if it was an epoch that needed 2 wins to get through. I think that's the furthest we were ever apart. But usually it was just 1 epoch ahead and then even out, and then maybe someone else would be 1 epoch ahead. It was doing a really good job of keeping that in. But that, having said all of that, it did end up falling apart by the last 4 games, or maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, and I did end up getting a big lead again of 2 or 3 epochs, yeah, that just ended up that I just had this system now, and I was just going to keep doing that. And yeah, I did go off and try and explore other things, but in the end, it just made sense to just keep doing the thing that I was really strong at. And yeah, unfortunately, the catch-up mechanisms weren't quite enough for that. We stretched the rubber banding until it snapped. But yeah, there is plenty in there, and I think that is good for it. It can sometimes feel like, what? It's giving you that? But then you realise, yeah, it's better that we get kept together, though, in terms of scoring. It's no fun to be miles behind, even though, yeah, some of the things are surprising how they come out. It's got a lot of, like I said, it's got a lot of twists and turns through the different epochs that do have big, game-altering effects, big surprises in there, and different paths to go down as well. Like, there are quite a few things in the rules that are either completely different for us, that you might have gone a different way. The way the players have played have ended up resulting in the world changing, the story changing, basically. Not in tons of subtle different ways. There are A and B paths that are sometimes you get a big inkling that, oh, if we do this, well, things are going to go this way and things are going to go this way. But yeah, there are definitely significant portions of it that we haven't seen, that maybe if we had gone through it again, we would make different choices to see all of that other stuff. But it's nice having that, as well as the surprises, there are things that you think, oh, well, what would have happened if we'd have gone in this direction? What would have happened if I'd have taken this thing? And there are plenty of things like in the upgrades, hopefully not a spoiler because you see the upgrade sheet at the very start. There are things that you can unlock on the dice faces and things that's like, well, you have to pick this upgrade and then read this card to see what it does. I really like that. And some of the things were quite silly and so definitely surprising what some of the things did. And I like that element that just, no, we're not going to tell you what it is. You buy this. If you really like the look of that symbol, you spend your hard-earned seals and get a surprise as to what that ends up being. I really like that bit of it. And the seals thing is nice too. That's another kind of catch-up thing, that the person winning is getting ahead, further and further ahead. And yeah, the seals thing is signposted rather than being a thing that you find out later. The person that wins gets no seals, but everyone else gets a seal for not winning. And if they manage to get close to their epoch goal, they get another seal. And those seals are spent on new stickers for your dice. So if you aren't winning games, you are hopefully pumping up your dice more and more with improved faces or completely unique, crazy faces. that will hopefully give you an edge in a future game, and that's a nice part to it as well. Definitely, we had a really good time with it for a lot of the campaign. As I said, the gulf that ended up coming up between us did end up spoiling it a little bit, and I have to say that it did lose its shine as well towards the last maybe quarter of the campaign. We had kind of lost our flair for it, and in past Legacy games we have completely obliterated them very quickly. Or say for Charterstone, which I mentioned we weren't enjoying that much, we did, it had been voted for by the backers, so we plugged through and finished the campaign as quick as we could. With this, I've had this since maybe a few weeks after the expo in June, and so we've had quite a while to slowly go through this. So it's not that we were getting burnt out on it from playing it too much. It did kind of fizzle out for us, and while there are surprises and twists and turns and things like that, it wasn't really enough to hold our attention by the end. We did have a great time with it for a while, but I do wonder, while we had a much better time with this than with Charterstone, it's still making me question competitive Legacy games, because the points disparity thing, you have to introduce all of these catch-up things on the off chance that might happen. It's nice that they're there, but they still didn't really work in the end, and it can, as I mentioned, sometimes feel like, what is happening to me now? Because I won these games. What are this next game that we're playing now is so stacked against me because of all of these things. I don't know. It's still a big question. I would still be willing to try more competitive Legacy games, and we did have a much better time with this than with Charterstone, as I mentioned. But still, it didn't last us towards the end. There are rules in this to carry on playing after you have finished. It's kind of encourages you to play someone else's region instead of yours, and experience the game a bit differently. But as with Charterstone, we've got no real desire to go back to that. We played so many games with that system, and there's only 2 different cities. We would only be playing each other's thing, and we've seen each other's strategies so clearly in our quite specific cities that we ended up building, that we don't really want to play it ever again, really. And that while there is stuff that we haven't seen, it's not enough to make me want to buy another copy of the game to go through all of that. It's nice that you've got the option, and you could talk to someone that's played through this campaign and be like, okay, well, what happened here for you? Oh, this happened for us, but this happened for us that's completely different. I don't think it's enough to make you want another copy of the game. But while it's a really nice system, and I do like a lot of the stuff that's in it, it did kind of, I don't know if it outstayed its welcome, or we just got bored with what we'd ended up building, or some of the things were a little bit. I said I liked the silliness of some of the dice faces and things, some of the events and epoch things did get a bit frustrating towards the end. Hard when you're being vague on these things, isn't it? To try and not spoil everything. And I said the one of the main things was Rach getting kind of not burnt out on it, just getting a bit fed up that, okay, well, it's clear now that you're so far ahead that this last game isn't a question of who will win this campaign. You're really strong at doing all of these things still, and you're 2 epochs ahead. So there's no tension in these last few games at all, because the gap between us had gotten too big. So that was a big thing for us. That might not be an issue at all, and maybe with more players affecting everything that is out on the board and having different levels of catch-up mechanisms going on, maybe that would be completely different. But as I said, we've only played it 2-player, so I'll never know. I would definitely recommend this over Charterstone just for the variety of stuff that's in there. It's a longer campaign, and I do like the dice placement system better as well, even though it can, you can end up in those situations where nothing's going your way with the dice. It's still a more interesting and more tense system to players as well. But in the end, unfortunately, we didn't come out of it glowing and evangelizing about the game either. But the playthrough is there, although most of the game is still a secret to you. Hopefully the playthrough can give you some vague idea whether you would like the basic core of the game and would like to spend, 20 or so games finding out what is hidden in the box. But anyway, it's difficult doing legacy games, isn't it? Hopefully I've given you some kind of information anyway. I've been talking for a while. Hopefully that's how it works. If I just keep talking, then something interesting will happen. Hopefully it did. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about the Rise of Queensdale now and talk about some other games. Bye!